I can't believe we're having this conversation again. So here we go. You know who the candidates are. You know what's at stake. One candidate promises a divided America filled with lies and hate. And one stands for change. Kamala Harris has more courage, more honor, more guts than this guy ever had. So you decide. Are we really going back down that same fucking broken road, or are we moving forward towards hope, towards freedom, towards change?
We know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
There's promise that lies in change, and the time for change is now. So what the hell are you waiting for? Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
I learned something over the weekend, and maybe I shouldn't have known this before, but I was randomly talking to somebody just in the park. My son was playing with their son, and they were explaining to me that a lot of people really do believe everything they see on Fox News. Here's me thinking, well, surely you don't believe that nonsense. Surely you can tell it's a pile of the stuff that comes out of the backside of a dog or a pigeon.
What's the most important issue for you as a Pennsylvania voter?
The illegal immigration into this country.
How is it hurting you and folks you know?
It's not. It's just the principle of the fact that everybody comes in here and gets free stuff and taking stuff away from hardworking Americans, and we got to put America first again.
Absolutely. We've heard that all around the country. Thank you very much. John, heard it in Ohio.
This is very simple and very straight. If anyone says to you, well, what's going on with the election? It's a fact. Kamala Harris is leading by unbelievable numbers. Now, that isn't just me repeating what you may see on the likes of MSNBC, etc., CNN. This is now everywhere. I mean, everywhere. That is the quote they have said. If you don't believe me, have a look at when Peter Navarro is giving this information. I repeat, the polls are coming through. Doesn't matter how they try and spin them. Fox News love to try and spin and find something. The negativity is there for the Trump campaign. The positivity, momentum, the game-changing numbers are with the Kamala Harris campaign.
Richard, give us a quick summary of the other polls and then tell us what you were seeing, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, just that underdog status, the entire world is against Donald Trump, Peter. I mean, the idea that she is the underdog is ridiculous. Everyone from Fox News, the people who run Fox News, to the people who run MSNBC want Harris to win and even put their name to an endorsement for her in Fortune 100 companies. I mean, that's insane. Yes. But I would say this. I think they do. I know they do see something that the public polls are not showing, or at least not all of the public polls. And that is what's going on in the polling universe right now. We have no consensus, and we have two schools. And in the, on the one side, you have the one school that is showing Harris leading, but leading by unbelievable numbers, Peter. That's the fact. I mean, Morning Consult is in that, ABC, NBC, to some extent. And then you have just some other state polls that are your usual suspects. You have Quinnipiac, the usual suspects. And they're showing a race that is her edge, and then really an edge that is never going to materialize. It's unbelievable. And then you have the other school, which shows that it's either tied or Trump with an edge that is a believable edge. And when you look at the track records of the pollsters in those two courts, right, in those two camps, really, the ones who are showing the tighter race with Trump with an advantage have better track records. And then secondly, with that, Kamala Harris's own polling does not look rosy for her. This is an open secret. I don't know why the media goes day in and day out pretending as if YouGov is correct and she's leading by 6 points and, a 5-point lead in Pennsylvania. That is insane. That is not going to happen.
We used to do this thing a while back called the three-legged race. Okay, where you'd have two of you and you'd have one leg joined together and it was like three legs. Imagine having to do that with J.D. Vance. But you've got to carry him. And you're former guy. You're the former losing president of the United States of America, because October the 1st is basically make or break. Literally, the Trump campaign is relying, and this is crazy, by the way, on, well, J.D. Vance have put in some type of performance, turn up, against Tim Walz. They're having a vice presidential debate on October the 1st that CBS are hosting. And, well, that's his last chance. That is Trump's last opportunity to try and register something. Because at the moment, he is getting trashed, thrashed, slaughtered, whipped. What word would... Give us another word. Comment section to describe the fact that Trump is having a disaster. Literally. But apparently October the 1st, I'm trying to be serious here. I'm an outsider looking in, but everything I've seen about J.D. Vance wouldn't exactly instill me with confidence that if I was down to my last dollar, I would stick it on J.D. Vance and he would come home in a three-legged race with former guy. Yeah. My money is definitely on Kamala and Tim in a three-legged race. I'm being totally serious. I mean, J.D. Vance, where would you put your last dollar?
President Biden's first 2 years, some bipartisan success, the infrastructure bill, top on the list. But that has completely stopped as we moved into basically this election cycle in early 2023 under the leadership of Speaker Johnson. Unproductive and, to use Dana's word, zany indeed. So, Professor Brinkley, let's get you in on the state of the race right now, because there are two things. The polls suggest a very close race. The trend lines do favor the vice president, but these leads are very narrow. We're basically talking about a margin of error race with 6 weeks to go. It's a toss-up. But part of that is because, to Joe's point, there has been an attempt to normalize, to flatten out, to sane wash what we're seeing from Donald Trump by the media. Yes, parts of it, certainly his allies. And for voters who really only pay attention in the last little bit, that's what they're seeing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, all Americans can't take a look at the heinous document of the Project 2025 that the Heritage Foundation gave birth to, and that's a blueprint for the future of the Republican Party in our country. If you really took time to read it, you would be so far away from Donald Trump, you wouldn't know what to do. I mean, other moments in American history, Warren Harding at his inaugural in 1921 tried to execute a similar plan, which is corporations take over, get rid of all regulators, get rid of civil servants. And what happened? Harding's administration got mired in scandal. And eventually, we remember Harding for the Teapot Dome scandal. Nixon tried it in '73. He was fairly progressive liberal his first term. Second term after he won, he got rid of all the cabinet, and he was going hard to do a similar kind of plan, and Reagan in '81 did. They all back off because it's nutty stuff if you took the time to read that project. But right now, we can almost all know that Harris is going to win the popular vote. We're all now looking at that electoral college again in those handful of states, like we did in 2000 and like we did in 2020 and 2016.
Yeah, there's conventional wisdom suggests that she might need to win by 3 or more points in the popular vote in order to hang on to the electoral college. So, Dana, it looks like Congress is going to avoid a shutdown right before the election. And if that is indeed the case, that's a rare moment of sanity for the legislative body that you have deemed, with its very unsubtle title, Fools on the Hill. The hooligans, saboteurs, conspiracy theorists, and dunces who burned down the House. Tell us a little more about your new book.
Right. Well, I wouldn't exactly call it a victory. What's happening this week is they had a 6-week summer vacation. They came back and fiddled around for a couple of weeks, couldn't pass their own continuing resolution to keep the government open. Now we're going to be bailed out by the Democrats to keep the government open so they can go home for another 6 weeks and have the fight again in December. So, yeah, I've tried to compile all of the, sort of the zany things. You've heard little bits about it throughout the year, but when you put it all together, it's pretty overwhelming, whether talking about Lauren Boebert grilling people on public urination, her Beetlejuice groping moments, howling obscenities at Joe Biden on the House floor during the State of the Union, getting into fistfights within the Republican caucus in the House basement, looking into deep state conspiracy theories, that involve space aliens that was supposedly suppressed by Mussolini and the Vatican. All this this truly zany stuff. But there's also a really serious undertone here. And Doug's right about Project 2025, but you don't even have to look at that. You can just look at what these guys have tried to do, and a majority of them voted to abolish the Department of Education, to restore the names of Confederate generals on military bases. Most of them have opposed funding for Ukraine. Most of them have signed on to a nationwide abortion ban. So that's, I mean, that's the agenda right there. You know, it's all sort of laughed off as a poison pill at this moment, but if you have a MAGA Republican Congress and a President Trump, suddenly this becomes reality.
The new book, Fools on the Hill, the hooligans, saboteurs, conspiracy theorists, and dunces who burned down the house, is on sale tomorrow. Washington Post columnist Dana Milbank, thank you very, very much.
And Doug Brinkley, just before we let you go, what's at stake with about 45 days left? What's at stake?
American democracy, nothing less. Donald Trump is a usurper of democracy. He's a wrecking ball. You've been talking today, rightfully reminding people of January 6th, but the hellscape he's developed of dividing our country, we have a chance to unite. Kamala Harris is doing an incredible job. Momentum's her way. And I think it's just getting some more young people engaged. And North Carolina is the state. I know everybody's waiting on Pennsylvania. North Carolina, to me, is really interesting that Harris has a chance of winning there. But the big moment is October 1. It's going to be the most important vice presidential debate, I think, in U.S. history when we put Waltz against Vance. That's coming our way. And it may be the last chance Trump has that somehow Vance can score points and get a little edge out of that.
And Doug, what do you say to people, and Bill Maher talked about this this weekend, that say you can't suggest that Donald Trump is a threat to American democracy?
That's violent rhetoric.
Or else that's violent rhetoric, as Dan Henninger basically blamed Democrats for trying to kill Donald Trump. Of course, not talking about Donald Trump's violent rhetoric. But what would you say to those that say you can't even suggest that Donald Trump doing all that he did is a threat to democracy, or else you're engaging in political hate speech?
Well, it's nonsense. You know, I'm a practicing Catholic. When I see somebody like Donald Trump get shot in the ear, or what almost happened at Mar-a-Lago, you know, your prayers go off for him because you honor all humans. But if you're talking about the danger, the inherent danger of Donald Trump, he's radioactive. He wants to come in and gut government because it's rhetoric that sounds good. And you start trying to get rid of civil service, collapse the federal government, you are going to find a country in disarray. It's a larger problem that the federal government hasn't educated the public enough to know all the incredible things somebody who works for the Environmental Protection Agency does for clean water, what we do for clean air. We don't talk enough about, you know, flight safety. But when you start just willy-nilly saying you're going to wipe out a Department of Education, nobody even knows what that means. To try it and get successful, particularly with the Supreme Court, with this which Trump sees as a rubber stamp, and with the new prerogative the courts gave them of knowing, you know, presidents are above the law, we're walking into a doomsday scenario if Trump gets in. People better wake up, take the smelling salt, and you know, pay attention right now. These next days are going to be fast.
Professor of History at Rice University, Doug Brinkley, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Let's just be